Welcome to UpWell The Podcast. I'm Sarah, and this is my beautiful co-host, Katie. As fellow female entrepreneurs turned friends and now business partners, we are so happy you're here.
With every episode, it is our sole purpose to share authentic conversations to inspire your personal level up. Take our curiosity, add your best intentions, and flow with us in the UpWell.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of UpWell The Podcast. I'm Sarah, this is Katie, and we're glad to have you.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. Fun conversation today. I'm super excited. We're going to talk all things spring. We're going to touch on some astrology today, which is my jam, so I'm super excited to kind of dive in.
Totally her jam. I know a little bit of it, but I don't know a ton of it. So I'm curious to learn today as well with everything. So, but to start, what most of us know about, like calendars and whatnot, we go by what's called a Gregorian calendar right now, but it wasn't always that way. In the late 1500s, it kind of all switched to what we have now, to where the new year is in January and, all of that. But prior to that, we actually had different forms of calendars that date back, thousands of years. But most of them were based off of the stars. And they gauged it off of nature and the stars and where the constellations were in the sky. And that was their cue as to where we were in a year.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that we did used to have our year off of stars, and astrology is just that. It's just the art of the constellations and the different, moving through the sky.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's so cool that just learning about how past civilizations have used what's around us, whether that is determining the calendar, how long it's been, or, what is a day, what is a year. It's just so interesting.
And using nature,
yeah.
The trees and the leaves and snowfall, and then the green coming in at springtime, like we're seeing now, because it's almost, the first day of spring.
I know, spring is coming. It doesn't necessarily feel like it right now.
I think when this airs, it'll actually be spring.
I hope so.
Yes.
I don't know. Weather-wise, maybe not, but
right.
Calendar-wise.
Calendar-wise, for sure, yeah.
We'll get into that in a second, because I do want to talk more about what spring can bring us, because we are entering a new season, and I think that's important to acknowledge because we can use it. It's in so many ways in, creating new goals and just coming out of hibernation. It's
absolutely
waking up from that winter, that winter mode. So
right.
I think that'll be fun to dive into too. But I do want to talk about stepping into a new season and not just springtime. So Katie was talking about the Gregorian calendar, and January 1st, as we know it, is kind of like Happy New Year. That's when we set our goals and we start this brand new yearly calendar in this cycle. But technically, if you follow astrology, Aries season is the beginning of an astrological new year. So we're recording this and we're at the very end of Pisces season, which is the last of the astrological signs. So we are in the very end of an astrological year.
And I've always found it weird that January 1st was the new year.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, winter just started. Why doesn't the new year start on the first day of winter? Why I've always, even as a little girl, I think I wondered that. Why is it January 1st? What is it about January 1st that, changed that? And I've read more on the history, which I'll save you on all of that. But it's, it's always been fascinating to me that it's this kind of randomly picked day
literally
that marks our new year, when in my eyes, I feel like, why doesn't it start on the first day of spring or the summer solstice or the first day of fall or something? I like the idea of it starting spring, because spring is birth.
Yeah.
Spring is new. Spring is, starting. So
yeah. And going back to new and beginning and starting, just kind of like that new year energy and tying it in with the astrological new year and the Aries season.
Mm-hmm.
Aries is, if you know anything about basic astrology, is a fire sign. And anytime you have anything to do with fire signs, whether that's in your personal chart or it's happening in the sky, it brings a lot of motivation. It's got like big energy behind it, a lot of drive, a lot of focus. And it's a great time to, I always tell people to use it as a spark because of the fire sign, you can use it to spark something in your life. So whether that is, moving forward in something that you set out to begin in January when maybe you didn't feel like it, maybe it was the stars, maybe it's not you.
Maybe it's the energy in the sky.
Maybe it's the energy.
Yeah.
But just using Aries season and spring itself, especially, in the Northern Hemisphere where we are stepping into warmer time, like you said, it's going to get greener, the days get longer. I mean, it just kind of all really goes hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exactly why I've always felt that the new year made more sense at this time, as opposed to kind of an arbitrary day.
Yeah,
like
some random day.
Like, what is it, 10 days after the first day of winter? Like, and it's always like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I know, like, winter, the first day of winter, and if we kind of, this is a totally different topic, but like getting into like the pagan traditions and stuff like that, but which we aren't going to talk about here today, but with Christmas and everything, like there's a big connection there as well. So, but January 1st, always been odd to me.
I know, definitely. Yeah. So Aries season is exciting to me because I have some fire in my chart, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, which I'm excited to break down Katie's chart. But Aries season is just, like I said, it's a passion. It's a sign of passion, a sign of drive, a sign of new beginnings, which is great when you are setting out to do something, whether that is make changes in your life or, start something brand new. You're going to have the stars will align. They have that energy to pour into anything that you're starting. This Aries season is particularly amazing.
Oh, yeah?
Because it doesn't happen very often. I don't remember the exact statistic as to how frequently it comes around, but there is 2 new moons happening in this season. So usually there's a new moon and a full moon, and every season, you guys know that once a month we get a new moon and a full moon, and it goes on a 30-day cycle.
I have a question real quick. So is 2 new moons in a month, is that still technically known as a blue moon cycle? Because it's 2, because I know full moons, when you have 2 full moons, it's called once in a blue moon, because a once in a blue moon is when you have 2 full moons in the same cycle.
That's a good question, and I don't think it's called a blue moon, but it has a name.
It does have a name
because it's new moons, but full moons is blue, and there is a name for it too.
It'll come to you.
It might not.
It might. Google it.
Let us know what the answer to that
Use
is.
the interwebs.
It's at your fingertips. You guys can find all this. But the exciting thing about that is new moons, and you probably know this, are a great time to set new intentions.
Yes.
Like new moons offer new beginnings. It's like darkness in the sky. It's a time to offer some introspection, so you can go in and kind of plant seeds. You're thinking about anything that you want to bring to life, start fresh, begin again, start brand new. That's kind of the new moon energy, the new moon theme. So it's awesome that in the sign of Aries, which is all about motivation and drive and moving forward, we get 2 opportunities to manifest something new. So I think that I have goosebumps. Like, that to me is so powerful because it just reminds us that we have just one extra opportunity. Not that you can't do these things all the time. Obviously, you guys, we're going to talk about where astrology stems from. And even if you don't necessarily believe in all of the things that astrology offers, it's been around for a long time. So it's just kind of, it's a tool. It's something that you can utilize if you understand it, and it can make things more fun.
And I believe that if you open yourself up to magic and energy, you will start to feel it and see it.
Definitely.
I think that is one thing with understanding energy as a whole. Like, the universe is made up of 2 things, energy and matter. And it's just this massive matrix.
Yeah.
I wrote that on my post for my birthday, that it's, just this massive matrix of energy and matter. And so once you start to understand the energy of it and understand that what's going on in the sky is the driving force behind a lot of it, and I'm not getting into faith beliefs, based stuff or anything like that, but the energy in the universe it's a driving force in a lot of things. And I really think it plays a huge part on our everyday lives and how we're feeling each and every day.
Agreed. And I always explain it to people that are very new to astrology, or people that are hesitant because, like you said, sometimes depending on your faith, it might not align with your beliefs. However, if you can believe that the full moon has the power to change the waves of the ocean, why wouldn't it have any control or any energetic relationship to yourself? Exactly. We are 97% water. So to not be able to correlate those two things, and you have to see that even if you think about the moon cycles themselves.
Or how many people say, oh, it must be a full moon out.
100%. I know so many people that work in the medical field or in the hospital setting, and they're like, oh, it was a wild night. It was full moon. It's crazy. Or even just when people are like, I can tell the full moon is coming. I just feel different or feel crazy or feel.
Teachers at schools, you name it. It's a definite thing.
I agree. That leads me to the ending of the astrological new year, because I think that is another powerful thing too, because we're talking about starting, spring and starting the new astrological year off with a bang in Aries season and opportunities to start new. But I think something equally as powerful is the ending of the astrological new year. So when Pisces season ends, that's technically the end of
my season.
I know. The end of Katie's season. We'll say goodbye. It'll be back in less than a year though.
Yeah.
But I think there's also something powerful about endings and recognizing, this is a good time of year, especially as we step into warmer weather and, the season is changing, to look at our lives and see what we can let go of, see the things that need to be released that are holding us back. Maybe if you do have a goal or something that you're working toward, whether that is health and wellness related, whether that is business related, it could be relationships, anything you think about that you're trying to gain or move toward, usually you have to release something, whether that is a habit that's holding you back or a thought, a belief system, something could be hindering your growth. And I think the ending of the astrological new year is a great time to review those things and see what you could possibly let go of.
I think it's always important to recognize moments in time of when it's time to let go of something that's no longer serving you.
100%.
And whether that is with the astrological season, the end of a month, the end of a week, the end of one of your solar returns, your birthday is. But any of that time is a great time when it's that cusp of end and new. That's always a brilliant time to really take inventory of yourself and really let go of things that no longer serve you, no longer are benefiting you, that have maybe benefited you or served you for a very long time that you've held onto and you've become comfortable with. But taking and stepping into the new with the courage of that has to stay where it was. It came along for the ride, and now its time is up.
I agree. And I think we've talked about this in the past, and I know it will be a reoccurring theme on this podcast, but we just talked about personal evolution and leveling up and changing your life and transforming your life and just stepping into the next best version of you. Absolutely. And so whether you use dates on the calendar, this could be at the end of every month, like you said, or the end of every week, every Sunday. Look at the past week, look at the things that maybe didn't serve you so well and what you can do in the next week. But I think, whether you use astrology and you use the moon cycle, new moons and full moons, whether you use, the stars or the calendar, I think you have an opportunity to look at what you can let go of, what's not good for you anymore, what has helped you in the past, and you can have some gratitude for it and see what's next for yourself.
I'm a calendar girl.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a calendar girl. Those that know me well know that I love, love, love the first day of a new month.
Yeah, I do too.
Love the first day of a new month.
Ooh, when it hits a Monday. Oh, mine is like sweet success when the Monday is the first.
Funny because mine is Sunday.
Oh.
Because I think of the week Sunday to Saturday.
Yeah.
So when it's a new month on a Sunday, that's funny that yours is a Monday.
I've always been a Monday person too, which is another funny thing. When people tell me they have the case of the Mondays, or they're like, oh, Monday, or even, what do they call it? Sunday scaries.
Oh, okay.
And people are worried about Monday or like freaking out about Monday. Maybe I think it probably stemmed from the days that I was a hairdresser because I never worked Mondays. So I've never had the Sunday scaries because I never had to work Monday, but there's something about the promise of a new. And I think, and whether that's Sunday for you, Monday, it could be any day, whatever day you choose. But I think I just love that feeling. Like, dust off the last week, let it go, whatever. And now we get a whole new opportunity. And you can look at that. This could be the next hour of your life. Honestly, if you want to micro scale it down, like if the 2 to 3 p.m. hour didn't go so great for you, you have the opportunity at 3:01 to start anew. So I think having that wherewithal and that knowing that you have the power over your own calendar in your brain to do whatever you want.
Yeah, because I mean, in all reality, time is a very arbitrary thing, and there's 2 concepts of time. There's the concept of like the calendars, the whatnot, but then there's actually 2 Greek words for it, and I don't remember what the Greek word is for like calendar time and everything right off the top of my head. But the Greek word for time, in terms of like a span of time or an era of time or a season of your life that was monumental, is called kairos. And it is this time to where it's like you can look back and you're like, oh, that was such a great period of my life. Like, so it's not a designated like 1 to 2 o'clock. It's a section of time, a period of time. And I thought that was so beautiful that it's like this, magical, nostalgic kind of opportunity to look back on a specific time. It's a beautiful word.
Well, and I like that too, because there are seasons that we experience externally, whether that's winter, summer, spring, the changing of the seasons. But I think there's something so profound about the changing of our own seasons,
absolutely,
like in our own life. And you can, if you sat down with that thought right now, you could paint the picture of your life based on the seasons that you've gone through.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's funny. It's a funny conversation to me. So many people will ask, "Well, what year did you graduate?" And they always assume I'm always assuming it's high school. And they'll ask questions about high school, but in my eyes, I'm like, I've lived 2 lifetimes since then, And we talked about that in my birthday episode where it was like, the 20s and then the 30s, and it's these like, but it's like at any given time, you're constantly evolving. But if you take the time to consciously be aware of that, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to ask you about the equinoxes a little more specifically, because even if you're not into astrology and you're not into the stars and following Aries season and the new moons and the full moons, there's something to be said about using the spring and the fall equinoxes. So Katie is very schooled in these, so she's going to share her knowledge for you.
So the equinoxes, if you don't know, obviously it's the vernal equinox, it's the spring equinox, and then it's the autumnal equinox, which is the fall equinox. Each of those equinoxes, it's relatively that light and darkness, sun and day and night are equal in the day. And so it's this moment in time where it's like a balance to where you can take inventory of the light and the dark, and you can reset and you can harmonize what's going on in your life and know that you're moving into a new season where, like, spring, you're moving into more light. So what can I do to bring more light into my world? Fall, you're moving into more darkness. What is it that I need to kind of go inward and reflect on? And I know once we get into the solstices, like the winter solstice is definitely a time to like really go inward and rest and hibernate and whatnot. And then the summer solstice is when you bloom. It's like the day of light. In the yoga world, it's the day of light. Yeah. And they do sun salutations and everything to honor the sun. And so it's this beautiful thing. It's like, so for me, I honor every equinox, every solstice, every single year, because it is such a profound, for me, time to know that we're moving into a new season, literally. But it's also a chance for me to move into a new season as well. Like, what is spring going to bring me? What are my intentions? What are we going to do? And there's actually festivals all over the world that celebrate these 4 days of the year. And it has nothing really to do with a paper calendar. It has to do with the sky. Yeah. And so it's the sun and honoring the sky.
I love that. And I just think there's so much to be said about these opportunistic times. Absolutely. And actually not forcing or fighting or going against what those solstices or the equinoxes offer you. And I know you've talked about it in the past, but winter is a time to reflect and go inward and and hunker down.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Hunker down.
to sleep more, to, you know, you're in flow with the darkness. Same thing for summer. That's why, you know, we wake up earlier. We have a tendency to be outside more, and the day is longer. So
we have
there's
a
more
tendency
opportunities.
Sorry to interrupt
No,
you. We have a tendency too to have, I don't want to say have more fun, but it's this, like, to me, I've always found that a lot of people dread the holidays. It's a forced togetherness when it's such a time for, I think, personal solitude. Whereas in the summer, it's like there's pool parties and there's barbecues and there's so much where we're constantly together and it's lively and it's fun and we're outside and the sun is warm and, you know, there's so much to be said for that.
Yeah, I agree. I love everything we're talking about is my jam. So I do want to shift gears a little bit because I want to talk about astrology just a little bit, but I want to have some fun with it, and I want you guys to feel empowered to learn a little bit about yourselves with the tool of astrology. So I want to preface all of this by saying astrology is not your grandma's Reader's Digest horoscope. Like, it doesn't have to be, it's not a fortune telling, it's not a magic 8-ball experience, it's nothing like that. If you can understand your birth chart and the stars in the sky, and even working with the moon sequences, like we were talking about new moons and full moons, you can use it as a very powerful tool of understanding and using your energy in a way that feels really good, you know. And so I think it's a way to help you kind of perpetuate your growth. Going back to our personal evolution and transformation, it's just another tool. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about our charts, and if you don't know your astrological chart or your birth chart, most everybody probably knows their sun sign. That's the 30 days, you know, sign that you're born in, where it's where the moon was when you were born, pretty much. So, or the sun. The sun. So Katie's a Pisces, I'm a Cancer, so those are water signs. She's a winter baby, I'm a summer baby.
That's why we each have our hot and cold.
I like the heat.
I like the cold.
I do. But there are a ton of other nuances that go into your birth chart, because essentially it's where every planet was in the sky on the moment in the place that you were born. So you have to know the hour, the minute, and the location of where you were born to get an exact picture of the sky at that moment, to get the full depth of your chart. But to understand yourself and maybe your own personality a little bit better, I always recommend finding out your big three. Your big three are your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. So I'm going to explain what all three of those are really quick. So if you don't know what your sun sign is, I always recommend starting with that, and that's just based on your birthday. So you just need your day and the year, and you'll be able to find that information out. So if you don't know what time you were born, or, you know, maybe your exact location, at least as long as you know the day, you probably can figure out your sun sign. So your sun sign essentially is your core personality. It's who you're born as. So a lot of times people resonate most with their sun sign as a child. You know, whether that is, I'm very Cancerian, and when I was a kid, I was much more emotional. I still am. I just maybe don't show it as much, and I'll tell you why in a second. But you can probably attest to that too as a Pisces, you know, just being more connected to your emotions, especially in your younger years. So the sun sign is definitely more your core personality and who you are when you're born and when you're younger. So your moon sign represents your inner world, your emotions, your heart's desires. So I actually resonate the most with my moon sign, and everybody kind of resonates differently, you know. And I think going back to seasons of your life, I think different parts of your chart show up at different seasons of your life, and that will make more sense to you as you go through them, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's your moon sign, and then your rising sign is the persona that you step into throughout your life. A lot of times it is how people perceive you. So it represents, I don't want to say a mask. That's the Greek word for mask is persona. So it is like how you show up in the world. A lot of times though, people step into their rising sign. So usually as you age or as you go through life, you resonate more with your rising sign just because of your traits, your tendencies. Are you laughing because this makes sense to you?
just learned a lot with what she just said, and I'll fill you in just a moment.
I can't wait
on what I'm laughing about all of a sudden.
I am excited to find out why, because I'm going to break down our charts, and she's going to tell us what just tickled her. So I want to talk about our personal sun signs, and maybe this can resonate with any of you that are water signs. I'm a Cancer, Katie's a Pisces, and that's who we were born as. You know, that's our core personalities. I do have a lot of Cancerian traits. Do you feel like you have a lot of Pisces traits?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What are some of, what's the most profound one?
Empathetic.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can feel the energy in the room immediately. And I think that's why, going back to our last episode, why I think you're a little more introverted, because it's probably overpowering to you to feel everyone's energy. Yes, definitely.
Empathetic is.
And mine, the most profound one for me, Cancerian, is very nurturing sign. So I'm that person that I'm like, what can I get for you? What can I do for you? I'm very...
She brought me a matcha today.
See, and I want to give, I want to show people that I love them by doing things for them, essentially. Yeah. So your moon sign is your inner world. It's the one that actually usually resonates most with people, but the least outward. Other people might not see it as much as you feel it, if that makes sense. So your moon sign is Sagittarius, which I could see that. Sagittarius is a fire sign, so she's got a little fire in her. Her inner world is a little fiery. I'm actually an Aquarius moon, and Aquarius is an air sign. So I think that's another reason we kind of get along, because Katie's got some earth in her chart, and I've got some air in my chart, and air signs are known for being very whimsical. I am creative in my inner world. My emotions are all over the place, and that's a very airy trait. That's an Aquarius thing. And in Sagittarius moon, that's, like I said, more fire, a little more drive. So your inner emotions are probably pretty, I don't want to say harsh, but if you decide you feel a way about something, she feels that way about something. Like,
it's
it ain't
so
going
true.
anywhere.
It's so true.
So don't piss her off.
Pretty much. Oh man, that is so funny for my family members that are going to be watching this episode. Oh, this is so good. Oh.
The funny thing is, though, with Sagittarius being your moon sign, you might feel that deeply to your core, but you won't show it.
Sometimes.
All the time.
Sometimes I do, yeah.
Or you
but
hang on to an anger for a long time without making it outwardly known.
It like holding a grudge.
Yeah.
I'm not
resentment.
Resentment, yes. Grudges, no.
Yeah.
Even though they're kind of the same, but I'm not a huge grudge holder.
Yeah.
But a little, I can see where if I become very aware of a situation to where I'm like, oh man, I've been holding some resentment here. You know, yes, I can.
That's self-awareness, though.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And I think too, going back to knowing your chart and just being aware of all these things, you can work with that energy, and you can mutate it how you need to. You know, it's like these are your personality structures, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Once you're aware of them, then you can start to play with it and utilize it in a good way, you know? And then, so your rising sign essentially is how people perceive you. It's how you show up in the world, especially as you age. You kind of start to step into this. Katie's going to tell us why she resonates with Taurus right now.
So everybody tells me that I look like my mom.
Well, yeah.
So my mom's a Taurus.
See? She's stepping into it. Taurus rising. That makes sense. That makes sense. And Taurus is also known for finances and being very organized, being good with, you know, your money and prioritizing making money and earthly goods. So that's kind of cool, because I can see that in you, and you might not necessarily see that, because the rising sign isn't something that we see in ourselves. A lot of times it's what other people perceive of us. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I just think learning your birth chart like this and knowing your big three is just fun. It's a fun tool to utilize as the seasons change. And I mean, astrological seasons, you can start to correlate these and understand how these things show up in your life, and even utilizing the season itself. So if Sagittarius season rolls around and you know that that's your moon sign, you can tie that to, you know, whatever's going on with your emotions. So it's just kind of fun.
Yeah, and this has been such a fun episode because I learned so much. When we first originally decided to do this episode, I was like, okay, I'll do it. I know some, I don't know a ton, but I have learned so much, especially how my big three correlate with one another. I had no idea that was how it all kind of, kind of how it all matched up. So it's been a lot of fun to kind of see how that all works.
Yeah, and even if you don't follow astrology or you don't necessarily believe in all of it, it is just...
It's so witchy.
Yeah, it is a little witchy. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm the witch doctor.
I'm the witchy woman. That's what Dan calls me.
Coined by our husband. True love. True love. That's a whole nother episode. We will probably get into that at some point.
Yeah, but being in tune with my intuition. Like I can tell when things are going to happen beforehand.
Sure.
Why are you the witch doctor?
Pisces. I just love natural herbalism type things. So
I've taken some herbalism classes. We should do a whole episode.
Ooh, I would love that because I believe that the planet offers us anything for all of our ailments, just about. So
same.
It's definitely a hot topic right now too.
Yes.
I think people are trying to step away from what we know as modern medicine. So we'll get into that sometime for sure.
Yeah, little later.
Yeah,
a little later. But yeah, I had so much fun with this. This has been such a good time. I hope you guys learned something from this as well, figuring out what your big three are, seeing how they correlate with each other, and understanding yourself a little bit better, as well as understanding yourself in the different seasons. And by seasons, I mean winter, fall, spring, and summer. Yeah. I didn't say those in the right order, but you know what I mean. But understanding how you are the way you are in the different seasons of the year.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
I know, this was fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of UpWell The Podcast. I am Katie. This is Sarah. You can find us online at UpWell The Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You can find myself at barefoot.katie, at Sarah Behrens from Miss Sarah. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and the world around you. Bye, guys.
Bye.